Welcome to the Center for Universal Oneness. We are an open, welcoming, spiritual community that supports all faith traditions and invites you to join us on your spiritual journey. We host different speakers each week to guide and inspire us. We are guided by universal principles of acceptance of all that is sacred, and we strive to live in the oneness of love. Please enjoy this presentation.
Paul Hasselbeck has held multiple positions at Unity, in addition to having originated as a physician dentist. He's now does most of his work as a speaker, workshop leader, teacher of metaphysics and coaching. He was the head of spiritual enrichment when I was at Unity Village. He's been pastoral counselor, just an all-around wonderful human being who has a unique take on Unity principles. Probably the best read person with the original works of Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, who the more you read and understand, particularly if you have an interpreter like Paul, the brilliance of the founders of the Unity movement. Anyway, he's a unique blessing, and available on the net, on the web under paulhasselbeck.com. Just looking forward to what he has to share with us today on peace, the piece by piece. Take it away, Paul.
Okay, thank you. Let me get myself together. First of all, hi, everybody. It's good to be back. It was fun listening to your conversation prior to this. And of course, my policy is to stay on after. I'm going to do a screen share. It'll take me just a second to get it the way I want it. I'm going to put it on slideshow. And you should be just seeing my first slide that says, thank you for inviting me. Of course, I'm always grateful. And I really think the model you all are doing is wonderful. And actually, I find myself recommending it to smaller groups that are having trouble finding a minister. Okay, so let's get romping. As usual, this is usually my first slide. Relax, sit back, enjoy. Today's going to be a little different. I'm not going to be doing a lot of metaphysics, but my intention is to provide you with some practical information and application. So there's my email address if you want to get out your phone and take a picture of that. If you ever want to reach out to me, alberthasselbeck@gmail.com. My website, paulhasselbeck.com, and you can find the podcast at metaphysicalrom2.com. It's also like on iTunes and Apple and all that kind of places. Okay, so the title of this is Piece by Piece, and it's also piece by piece, because we really have to put together some unique combinations of pieces to really ground our lives so we're living from the inside out. So some metaphysics to remind you of, at least the metaphysics that I believe in. We're fully divine. That's what you are and what I am. And we're fully human. That's who you are and who I am. I love this picture. You've seen it before. There you have baby Jesus being fully divine and fully human. And there's Mary getting a little bit frustrated with him. And then as a reminder, by the term mind, we mean God, the universal principle, which includes all principles and laws. This is one of my favorite quotes from Charles Fillmore. It's the clearest amongst others. So God is this universal principle. And since we are fully divine, this universal principle is right here at the point of me and right there at the point of you. And Eric Butterworth said, God is spirit, present in its entirety at every point in space, all at the same time. So the entirety of God, you have the entirety of the divine at the point of view. And it's made up of these principles and laws. And not surprisingly, one of the principles is the principle of peace. Now, these principles don't have a way to make you be peaceful. Just like the principle of life is something you use to be living, or the principle of love is something you use to be loving. God isn't living, God isn't loving. And so with the principle of peace, it's what we can consciously use to be more peaceful, to live in a peaceful way. But God is not peaceful because God doesn't have the capacity to do that. So let's define a few terms. So peace is a state of tranquility or quiet. I think of it as a type of inner stillness. But when I think about peace, I think of another term, equanimity, equanimity, evenness of mind, especially under stress. And friends, if we're going to talk about peace, we got to really address stress and anxiety and stuff like that. And then this is another definition. It's mental calmness, composure, and evenness of temper, especially in a difficult situation. I think we all agree we're living at a time of changes and some difficulties. So here they are again, if you want to take a picture of it with your cell phone, a state of tranquility or quiet, evenness of mind, especially under stress. So I tend to think in terms of equanimity. So if we want to be peaceful, if we want to manifest peace from the principle peace, there's these foundational things that a lot of us already know. The importance of meditation, the importance of prayer, chanting, music, dancing, walks, especially in nature, and you may know a few more. This is just a handful of them. So as a way to get started, let's try something. So I invite you right where you are to take a deep breath. And keep your eyes open if you want for this. And first thing I want you to do is notice 5 things you can see. And then notice 4 things you're either touching or can touch. Notice 3 things you can hear. Like right now, I can hear a jet going by. Notice 2 things you can smell. And if you can't actually smell anything, remember something you can smell. And then finally, notice 1 thing you taste or can taste. For me, it's the coffee I've been drinking, and I imagine that's for a lot of you. And now just notice how you feel. So this is called the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. And it's a mindfulness practice, and it focuses on the body. It focuses on the 5 senses. And why would we want to do this? Well, it's because your body, my body, is always in the present. And when we start using those 5 primary senses, there's a whole lot more, but those 5 primary senses, we tend to ground ourselves in the present. While our thoughts and feelings can seem to be in the past or the future, in fact, they can never be in the past or future. If you're focused on the past, you're having present thoughts and feelings about the past. If you seem to be focused in the future, you can have thoughts and feelings about it, but your thoughts and feelings are never in the future. Even so, it can so distract us that we're not present in our bodies. And so when you notice that, this can be a way to ground you in the present. And grounding is a way to be peaceful. And so one of the big errors we have is we think we live from the outside in. And when we live from the outside in, we're in victim consciousness and we tend to be under stress. The truth is, we live from the inside out. And inside out living focuses on victor consciousness and verity consciousness. And this is a way we can handle stress, because often we are stressed because of things we see going out there, and we think it's causing something in here. There's a principle in attitudinal healing that says, I can be peaceful inside regardless of what is happening outside. I can be peaceful inside regardless of what is happening outside. Well, when we think about stress, or when I was thinking about stress for this talk, I noticed it was about control. And friends, you can only control the controllables. It sounds funny, but that's the truth. So, your sense of responsibility should not exceed your capacity for control. And yeah, I know control gets a bad rap and all of that, but this is about personal control. And you are only responsible for the things you can control. So why do we feel like we're responsible for things we can't control? But surely we do. And one of the things we can do is keep our expectations in check. Well, why? Well, bottom line is, our expectations give the illusion of control. If we think that there's going to be a certain outcome, we think we have control. And how many of you know that that really doesn't work? And another way is have healthy boundaries. That's a big problem in our society today, is unhealthy boundaries. Because no boundaries means taking on other people's problems and stresses when they're really not yours. So you can only control the controllables. Take responsibility for your actions, your thoughts, your feelings too, but not outcomes. So then beyond stress, we can talk about the fight or flight response. Now, I said this, but it's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, because it's really fight, flight, freeze, or please. I'm a freeze guy. When I'm under attack, I tend to freeze up. I tend to lock down. And as a minister, I tend to be a pleaser too. And so what is please in the context of this? Well, please is if you're on the playground of life and there's a bully, a lot of people will have the please response, trying to please the bully. And I think you can come up with a couple examples of that, maybe some recent ones. So this fight or flight response is related to this little friend within us called the amygdala. And you can see in the picture there, it's a very, very tiny, I think they say almond-sized structure there in the base of your brain. Now, an important thing to remember, I just talked about stress. Stress actually upregulates the amygdala. I mean by that, it makes it more active. The amygdala regulates emotions like fear and aggression. And I read in the book, I guess we would say philosophically, it's always asking, am I safe? Do I matter? Am I safe? Do I matter? If the answer is no, then what happens? And it happens like that. A lot of it happens unconsciously because there are more signals going into the amygdala than there are going into our higher thought centers. So the amygdala causes a cascade of events on the sympathetic side of your nervous system. You see, you have an autonomic nervous system that has two parts, a sympathetic side and a parasympathetic side. So the amygdala causes a cascade of events triggering the release of stress hormones, including the hormones of epinephrine, which is also adrenaline, and cortisol. And as a result, you can't quite see them here. There's a whole series of things that happen. One of the important things that happen is the constriction of blood vessels in certain parts of your body. And one of them is in your higher thinking centers. So your higher thinking centers aren't getting as much oxygen or food. So in a sense, our higher thinking centers go offline. On the other side, we have the parasympathetic nervous system, and this produces a calm and relaxed feeling in the mind and body by releasing a completely different set of biochemistry that actually counteracts the negative chemistry or stressor chemistry that's released when the amygdala gets triggered. So what can we do about that? Well, there are a couple things we can do. One is called 4-7-8 breathing, and we're going to get back to that. Another is gently touch your lips. Just do that right now. Just gently touch your lips. If you find you're under stress, you can gently touch your lips. Just notice how that feels. So that decreases stress and anxiety. And it helps with that sense of feeling calm and connected. Well, no wonder kissing can help us feel connected to our beloved. That gentle touch on our lips. And then there's deep abdominal breathing from the diaphragm. It's called diaphragmatic breathing. You see, here's what we're doing. We're, of course, using our minds to use our bodies to regulate the biochemistry within our body, then regulates our mood. So you see, it's kind of a circular thing that's happening here. When that amygdala gets triggered, we're not aware it gets triggered until we feel that response in our body of anxiety, of fight, flight, freeze, or please. And we have no control over that. Remember, you can only control the controllables. And when that amygdala is triggered, your upper thinking centers are going offline. And that means it might be difficult for you and me to remember some of these things we can do to bring us back online. And remember, at the beginning, there's that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique. That's fully in the present. It doesn't take as much time as meditation or prayer or going for a walk in nature. So that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique is for something that you can do right now. Touching your lips, okay? And so one of the forms of this diaphragmatic breathing is called calm and connect breathing. It's also called the 4-7-8 breathing technique. So just as your body has mechanisms to put you in fight, flight, freeze, or please, this is a mechanism that's in you, that's inherent, that's innate, that you can choose to be more peaceful, especially when you're under stress and anxiety or in a fight, flight, freeze, or please situation. So let's try that now. Are you ready? So here's what it is, and then we're going to do it. So Calm and Connect releases those biochemistry things that counteract the stress, the anxiety, the fight, flight, or freeze. So it's breathe in very deeply to a count of 4. It's hold for a count of 7, and then exhale to a count of 8. Now, you want to do this several times until you notice you're calming down. So let's do it. I'm not going to do it with you so I can guide you, and we're going to do it 3 times. Are we ready? Thumbs up if you're ready. Okay, here we go. Breathe into a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. And hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale to 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, if you can't breathe in that deep for that long, breathe what you can, hold it for as long as you can, and do the exhale for as long as you can. But I'm going to guide you again. Breathe in to a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And just notice how you're feeling right now. Okay, so what is the trick here? Well, let me tell you a little story. I was in Florida with a friend, and we were driving, and she got a phone call that her electric was going to get turned out. And it was going to get turned off because they said she hadn't paid her bills. And she started to go off. She got a lot of anxiety. I could hear the stress in her voice. And she's saying to me, I know I paid that bill. I don't know what's going on. And they were telling her that she had to go to some place and get cash and pay for it. And she was just getting revved up and revved up and revved up. And after about 5 minutes, I said to my friend, pull over for a minute. And she goes, no. I said, no, please, pull over for a minute. And we pulled over. I explained the calm and connect breathing technique, and we did it. We actually had to do it for 3 or 4, maybe 5 times, but I could actually sense her calming down. And then once she was calmed down, she went, wow, that really works. And then her higher thinking centers came online, and she thought, oh, maybe this is about the property we sold. And she called them back, and sure enough, they were turning off the electric to a property they no longer owned. And so she felt better. So what's the trick? The trick is remembering to do it when you're under stress and anxiety. And friends, those longer term things, meditation, prayer, and all that, that's to handle all of that subclinical stress that we have in our lives today. And that subclinical stress, that stress we're not aware of, is causing damage in your body as well. So we have subclinical stress that we can use these long-term things like walking in nature and meditation and prayer. But then when it's more acute, when your stress or anxiety is more acute, you now have a few techniques you can use. You can touch your lips. You can do calm and connect breathing, and you can ground yourself with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique. And friends, that's how we have piece by piece, piece by piece. And so it is.